I'm also moved by it.
Yes. Yes, tell me about that. What moves you?
You talking to me?
Hi, and welcome to the Pretentious Film Bro podcast. My name is Brady Odom, and I'm joined here alongside my co-host, Nolan Jones. At PFB, we aim to discuss the often ostracized and marginalized groups of film fans and the movies they love. This could be the snobs, intellectuals, bourgeois, sophisticated, and the pretentious. Or it could be the bros, the Nolan aficionados, Fincher fanatics, Tarantino cultists, and those who know silence is really Scorsese's masterpiece.
At Pretentious Film Bros, we don't try to stereotype or criticize either group, but instead we wish to show how we represent both simultaneously. Anyone that's in between or on the outskirts that loves movies is a part of the whole, and we hope to have fun and insightful conversations about the movies we love, hate to love, and love to hate. We hope that you'll enjoy and share with us some of your favorites as we discuss the movies that make us.
So, Nolan, who are you? How did you get involved with the Pretentious Film Bros podcast? And, more importantly, more unfortunately, how did you get involved with me? How did you get to know me as a person?
Oh, well, I don't know if I agree with the unfortunately part. I'll tell you what, we've had a lot of fun in the time that I've known you talking about movies. There's nobody else that I'd rather be able to do it with and share the mic. But I guess we might as well jump in on it because we kind of met in a very unconventional way to be doing a movie podcast. But we actually met, I believe it was your freshman year at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.
Technically, did 1 year online,
Sophomore?
1 year on campus. So like my
Okay.
sophomore year. So
Right, so it was your first year on campus, and I'd been there. Must have been my sophomore year because we were still on where we started, and we just one way or another we got connected as two people who liked movies. We started hanging out late into the evenings, playing lots of games of Settlers of Catan when we should have been sleeping or studying, and somehow we just grew in our love of film from there. We were two guys at a Bible college who liked movies, two guys at a Bible college who liked horror movies. And we were just able to connect on that commonality. Also, we were two guys who thought we'd try our hands at writing movies. So those commonalities, when we found those out, we just kind of clung, and here we are. It's been, that was like 2018, and now we're in 2025. Somebody who's better at math than me would tell you that that's 7 years roughly that we've been getting together and talking about movies. And now we decided maybe our simple common thoughts of just the common movie fan would be valuable to someone else. So here we are.
yeah, I think too it's cool because we both come Midwest, South, Midwest. Like you're based in Oklahoma, I'm based in Missouri. So
Right.
Unfortunately, in order to have this discussion, we have to do it online, as the way of the world is now anyway. And so it was just cool because we both grew up in, I would say, different households, but I feel like we had a lot of similar teachings as we grew up. We were both raised fairly Christian conservative. I'm speaking for both of us, but I assume that to be like mostly true. And I mean, that's how we ended up in Chicago, which is also just the craziest thing too. In the middle of Chicago, literally in the heart of the city, you have the most conservative Bible school that there is. And so it's interesting because you actually finished your degree and I did not finish my degree. And it's interesting because we both wanted to make movies. We both had thought about it for a minute, at least by the time we got to sit down and talk with each other. And so to have the same kind of background, but love something as much as we both love movies, you could have discussions with other people, but they didn't keep up with any kind of award shows. They didn't try to expand their taste. They didn't try to see other people's perspectives. They just were like, yeah, the new movie's cool, whatever, I liked it. And whenever we could have a conversation, it was a little bit more fruitful. And so I just really always appreciated that about you. And so, Nolan, how did you become a fan of film, a fan of movies, and what made you want to be a writer? Like, what was the driving force behind those decisions?
Yeah. Well, I've always, as far as writing goes, I think it's always been something I've had that knack for. You take those tests in grade school where they tell you, oh, this is going to be a good career for you. And one that I always got was some type of creative or a writer. And I was like, no, that's not true. That's not true. At the same time, all through elementary school, I'm making coloring page books, ripping out coloring pages that I've colored, printing off data sheets offline, and putting it in a little book. That's the best I could do of writing at that time, I guess, I suppose, as a kid. It's always been something that I've done. Through high school, I attempted many different novels. I've done poems. I've done all kinds of stories like that. None of them ever really excelling to a great height that I was really proud of. And then when my second year at Moody, somewhere around there, I was like, you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to try to write a movie. And that was a format that I just fell in love with. It's so simple and clean. It's just, here's the action that happens. Here's the dialogue that's said, and boom, you move on. And it was a way that I could just sit and I could focus and I could knock out a story after story after story. And I think by the time we actually met, I had, I believe, 2 scripts completed under my belt. Not to say that any of them were great. The first one certainly was rough. The second one was better, as you hope, of course, that they get better as they go. But that was something, too, that just really connected us because, like you said, I didn't have anybody to share these with. You talk a conservative Christian background. The what you're thinking of, you multiply that by about 10, and that's probably what my parents were like. They had their reasons. They needed to be that way because of things that happened in our family and things that have happened in their own life and the way that what God's called them to be. But for me, that just didn't fit. And that's part of the reason why I think you and I connected even at Moody, this super conservative school, is because our love for film, for films from all over the world, from films of all different types, made it to where we just didn't quite fit with the traditional conservative Christian value. And there was no place for us to express our love for some of the darker or grittier or harder stories within the traditional Christian thinking, even though, I mean, you look at the Bible that we read and that we profess as our book of faith, and some of those stories, they're pretty grisly. Yeah. But anyways, I digress. So when I made that transition from writing just coloring book stories as a kid to novels and poems in high school into screenwriting, for that was it for me. And when I decided I loved writing movies, I guess I decided I need to start watching some movies. And it's just a love and a passion that grew naturally out of all of that. It's something that I fell into, and it's something that now it's a core part of what makes me who I am. I am a film lover. I am a pretentious film lover. I am also a little bit of a film bro. Sometimes I have my places where I'm real comfortable, and I have my places where I'm like, that was good, but it's not for me. So all those years later, here I am. This is what I love to do. It's what I love to talk about. We'd get on the phone and we'd talk for 3 to 5 hours some nights about the movies we've seen. So now we get to, and I guess I'm kind of coming into why a podcast now, and then I'll let you tell us why you wanted to be a part of this. But for me, this is a way that we can have our long conversations, hopefully a little bit shorter and a little more focused, but we can share our thoughts with other people, and maybe they'll find them interesting. Maybe they'll want to share some of their thoughts back with us. Because we're not film critics. We don't have film degrees. I have a Bible college degree, for heaven's sake.
I have no degree.
I don't have any right to be talking about film, except as somebody who just loves to watch movies. So to be able to have that discussion and bring that perspective to the film podcast world is really exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing. That was awesome. I don't think I really knew that about your childhood and growing up in that way. So that was just unique, even to now, as we've been friends for 7 years. You still learn something new every day. And I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, but I actually was really interested in writing when I was in about 5th grade. And I loved all things fall, spooky, scary aesthetics since I was little. And in 5th grade, there was a showing on FX, which, for those of you who don't know, is network television. So that means
you're really dating us now.
I know, and so
future generations will look at us and go, "Wow, those guys were old. They must have known the dinosaurs."
I can't wait to tell my grandkids that I was born in the 1900s. It's going to blow their mind. And so, but when I was little and in 5th grade on FX, there was a showing of Scream. And so Scream was the first scary movie I ever saw, which is, I think it's paradoxical because it's the best intro to scary movies I can think of to give to somebody, because it's scary enough, it's funny enough, it's a well-written story, and it is just entertaining to no end. But it's also a callback to so many scary movies. And so if you come into it without any of that knowledge, you can't pick up everything that they lay down, which I
you
think
can't
just adds to the
appreciate it as
flavor.
much on the first viewing, but then you
Yeah,
get to come back to it, and now you have this knowledge.
absolutely.
Blows your mind all over again.
And it still holds up for it being now, an almost 30-year-old film. It is still very, very solid. And so when I initially watched it, the next day when I went back into class, I had a little white binder, and we were given like 30 to 45 minutes that next day. And I filled it up with all this extra paper that I had, and I just sat down and started to try to write my own rendition of a Scream script. That was what interested me. That's what intrigued me. I was like, ooh, how can I make twists and turns? And I'm in 5th grade, and my favorite books to read at this point are Goosebumps. Like, I don't like to read anything that is like going to really take a lot of effort from me. So it's just, I wanted to be intrigued and I wanted to be scared. And so I worked on this Scream script that I probably wrote 50 to 60, 70 pages on. But obviously it's been long gone since I didn't really take it super seriously. I just was really intrigued at that
That's a
point.
bummer.
And when people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said a screenwriter. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a screenwriter. I didn't want to be an astronaut or anything noble. I just wanted to write words on a page and call myself, a philosopher. But as I got older and I started to be more devout in my faith, I thought about ministry works, and that is still something I do pursue, but I just pursue it in a completely different capacity. And when I got to Moody, before I ever connected with you, I realized that my roommate that I had, we couldn't really connect on anything. Politically, we couldn't connect on anything. Religiously, even though we're both at a conservative Christian school, we could not connect on anything. And so we just tried to do that. And one of the things we could connect on was movies. And he had seen a lot more than I had seen at this point. And so he started talking to me about all these movies I needed to watch. And the one thing I'll always thank him for is he's the reason I ever saw Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I always credit that movie as the movie that opened my eyes that movies could be more. And the more I thought about it, I started to realize, a lot of people I started to talk about things with, we could build a connection through movies, which then opened more doors to build more connections through real life things. And so the more movies I watched and the more I, learned about them, the more I was interested. I regained this love for writing again, but in a more composed, more particular, more progressive way of I'm not just trying to cover a movie that's already been done. I'm actually trying to write unique things. I started to realize maybe this is what I need to do. Maybe this is how I connect with people. At least build that bridge, right? And so then we got to talking, and I got to read your scripts, which I know you said your first one is like it's rough. I mean, everybody's first script is rough, but I also thought your first script was fairly compelling, and so I could see that there was already talent there, and so I could see like the potential, right, of it growing, of you like continuing to excel as a writer. And so I remember my first thing was a short story I wrote on my phone, and it was late at night, and it was about a person with multiple personality disorder. And I had not seen Psycho yet, which is just, very fascinating. And so I just thought, you know what, this could be something I really find intriguing. And so I've done a ton of research since then. I've done a ton of watching of studio binder. I've actually got to help write on a movie that will be made. It actually is made. It releases in theaters. I no longer have anything to do with it, but It was a
Yeah, I
fascinating
remember that time.
experience. Say that again.
I remember that time.
Yeah, and it was a very fascinating and a very, very valued experience. I learned way more than I ever thought I could, and so it only opened the door for me to learn more. And so, yeah, film and movies they just mean a lot to me as a person, and I feel like to a lot of people. And so I think that's part of why we wanted to make the podcast. We didn't want to make the podcast just because we had nothing better else to do. We both have our own lives. We both have busy schedules, but we wanted to take
It's a
time
full-time
to
job.
say that again.
Wives and full-time jobs.
Yeah, I mean that's how life goes. And so we did though. We felt we had interesting perspectives to bring to the table, not just on how we interpret the film, but what the film means to us and what directors mean to us, what movie making in general means to us as people who are still writing, as people who are still attempting to create something, taking any avenue we can to figure out how can we get something made. And so, Nolan, for this podcast, is there anything you think you bring to the table that you feel is intriguing, that might ruffle some feathers, but also might uh, earn you respect in the film crowd, where it's like, okay, I appreciate a man who has an opinion and sticks to it. And you don't have to name any of your takes or anything like that, but just like anything that you feel like you bring to the table when it comes to what can we what try to think
I'm
anything
with
you
you.
bring to the table that makes it different than maybe what other people are.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing I have to bring to the table is I mean, you've got a little bit more experience than I do. But the only thing I have to bring to the table is I love movies.
Hmm.
I mean, you think about when you're meeting someone for the first time, and you talked about how kind of like movies are a bridge to connect to people. But you think when you meet somebody for the first time and you walk in their home, you look and see what pictures are on their walls or what kind of decorations they have, maybe what books are on their shelf to kind of give you a sense of who that person is. Well, for me, when I meet somebody for the first time, when I go into their house, I want to see what their movie shelf looks like. Because to me, that's where I can really tell a lot about a person. Of course, if you were to look at the movie shelves behind me, you would be very confused because you've got everything back there. You've got the Pretentious, you've got the Film Bros, you've got the foreign films, the black and whites, the Technicolors, the horror, the drama, the comedies. It's all back there. It's so, but that's what when it comes to movies, that's what I love. The movies that are on my shelf and mine and my wife's shelf. That's a reflection of who we are and what we love. I don't collect movies for other people. I don't watch movies for other people. I don't talk about movies for other people. I don't have any agenda to make. I'm not a critic that gets told I have to review so many new movies every month. If I want to talk about a movie that came out 40 years ago or 70 years ago, I can. So it's that maybe it's an everyman perspective, an everyman position, not having the title, not really having the experience or the professional training. But all that I can bring is my love for movies and my love for a story told well that has the potential to change somebody's life. Because I believe a good story, well told, can change somebody's life.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what compels us as people, right? We don't sit to just, if you've ever had a friend who loves to tell stories, but they're not good at it, it is I would say it's one of the most frustrating experiences as a person. Is you want to engage, you want to show that you're listening, you want to show your support, but if they can't tell a story, I mean, buddy, just you're done. We're done. I just give me, from now on, you are a main points person. I just want the gist. But then you sit there and you listen to somebody who can really tell a story. It is the most engagement that you can have with another person, and it feels deeper than just whatever you're talking about. There's a connection being made there. You're learning about who they are as a person, right? And that's what films are about, is they are the human connection, like the human condition, right? And so we we're not going to bring this Roger Ebert like level of sophistication to our discussion of films, and that's okay, because most people can't, most people don't. But there are people now, I think, especially in this day and age, that want to talk about movies. They want to voice their opinions. They want to give their rankings. They want somebody to have a sophisticated conversation with them, but nothing that is just going to be completely over their head, where you're talking about camera work and you're talking about certain elements they use with the lighting. They're like, I can't follow any of that, but I really liked how they did this, right? I really liked how, the Batman took down the Joker. Like, that's what people want to talk about. They don't care about all the other just, nooks and crannies. They don't care about the bells and whistles. They care about the story, right? And so I appreciate that. I mean, that's why we're doing the podcast. Is you bring a perspective, I bring a perspective, and we have unique viewpoints on what makes a film important to us. And so, leading into that, we both have Letterboxd accounts, and so please feel free to follow us. My name is Brady on Letterboxd, or Crooked Stick. And Nolan, what is yours? Your Letterboxd?
I am at NP Jones, capital N, lowercase p Jones.
Perfect, thank you. So you'll see, you look at our pages, we're
confused.
We watch a lot of different things. In fact, Nolan, do you want to give your 2 most recently watched films and their ratings, if you want to?
2 most recently watched.
I know one of them.
Let me do a quick pull, because I know my most recent watch was actually a 2001 film, The Others. And this is one that's sat on my shelf for 2 years now. I bought it 2 years ago when you told me that it's a movie that absolutely changed your perspective on movies. So I was like, well, great. I was trying to be talked out of it, and you talked me into it. This film's great. If you haven't seen The Others, this film starring Nicole Kidman, it is a spooky time essential. Like, it is just so good.
Excellent ghost story
with atmosphere. It's dripping with characters. It makes twists and turns that some you might see coming, but there's things you're not going to see coming. I'm prepared to say this is my favorite ghost story. And I've not seen a ton of ghost stories. Like, it's not like covering all the slasher bases or anything like that. But this is my favorite ghost story. I'm so glad you talked me into this one. Because I really enjoyed it. My wife really enjoyed it. And when we both really enjoy something, that's a special treat. And then I believe, I got to double check to confirm what I watched before that, because I think it wasn't something quite as serious. Oh, how did I forget? A Halloween Time Essential. It was The Nightmare Before Christmas. And this is one of those movies that for the past several years, we've watched every year. We watch it around Halloween time. I know a lot of people can watch it around Christmas time. It works for both. We don't have to argue about it. But this is just... And it's a movie that's gone up in my appreciation and my love, to where I'm like, yeah, this is a perfect Halloween, Christmas time double feature film. There is nothing wrong with it. And that's what I'm going to say about that. So those are my 2 recent. And then I believe I can give you 2 favorites too, and then I'll go ahead and punt it to you.
Go ahead.
So we're going to give, I don't know which ones you're going to do, but I'm going to assume that you've probably got Kogonada covered, maybe. So I'm going to go ahead and punt on that one, because I'm sure we'll share it later together. But every time somebody asks what's my favorite film, I have to tell them it's Moonrise Kingdom. And as somebody who's not a huge Wes Anderson fan, Moonrise Kingdom is my favorite film. Every time I go back and I revisit it for those 90 minutes with all the losers that call New Penzance home, I just feel at home. Life is going to be okay once I reach Moonrise Kingdom. And then after that is a movie that my other favorite I'm going to give is one that I've been watching since I was a little kid, and it's Lilo and Stitch. The animated, not the live action. That one was good, but man, it was too different for me.
Well, you also haven't been watching
Lilo and Stitch. I've been watching since I was a child. I think it's Disney's most underrated masterpiece. And I can't imagine that anybody watching this has not seen Lilo and Stitch. Maybe if you're part of a younger generation and you haven't been exposed to that yet, go check it out. It is It is one of the best Disney films ever made. You won't regret it.
Awesome.
So,
Also,
Brady, go ahead. I'm going to let you share with us and see, because I know you've watched some crazy ones recently too, even more different than I've got on the table. So, go ahead and enlighten us if you would.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So my two recently watched are it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, a childhood classic. I actually probably haven't watched this since I first saw it when I was 6 or 7 years old. The dialogue in that movie is so funny for it being a 1960s. I mean, there's lines that these toddlers are saying that are just the funniest things. And it was just one kid, I believe it was Linus. I cannot remember, but Linus, he's speaking to Sally, and he says, "I thought little girls were supposed to listen to everything men said." And I was like, "Whoa!" And she goes, "Welcome to the 20th century." And I was like, "What? These are supposed to be 4 or 5 year olds. Like these are not supposed to be like philosophers of this day and age." And so, and my favorite quote from the movie is, "Nothing but sincerity as far as the eye can see." Again, spoken by a toddler. And so, or what I assume to be toddlers, they don't have a lot of hair on their heads. So I could be wrong,
I think
but
they're elementary school. They're just
yeah,
very,
we'll go
very
with
numerically challenged middle schoolers.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
elementary
They
schoolers.
definitely could use some Rogaine for sure. But that's one of them. A great spooky time watch to watch either just you or you and some friends or you and your kiddos if you have kids. And so absolutely great watch. And then my other recently watched is one that may or may not be brought up in further episodes, but that is Carnival of Souls. And Carnival of Souls is one of those movies that I saw years ago, and it's never really left my mind. It's always been there, as it will probably manifest its way into if I ever create something spooky. It will definitely find there will be some homage paid to that movie. That movie is one of the best exercises in liminal experiences and paranoia and isolation, what it means to not have human connection. And it is just an excellent display of a ghost story. I would say, as much as I love the others, I think right now Carnival of Souls, whether you call it a ghost story or not, I believe it is, and that would have to probably be my favorite ghost story as of the moment. Of course, that could change as we grow, but those are my two recently watched, and I'll give you two favorites. They're not necessarily my most favorite films, but they are two that I really, really respect. Um, and that is The Wind Rises by Hayao Miyazaki. It is an excellent film about love and dreams, and it makes me emotional every time I watch it. It is just fantastically crafted, and one of those films that I feel like a lot of times people say it falls. Nobody's ever saying it's on the worst side of the Studio Ghibli film uh, filmography.
They at least wouldn't say it twice, right?
Yeah, I mean they know better than that. They're never gonna say, "Oh, that's the worst one I've ever seen." Um, but I feel like it's not viewed as the best by a lot of people, and I feel like that's a shame. I think it's Hayao Miyazaki's most personal film. It's somehow his most imaginative, but also his most contained. There's so much about it that it doesn't go off the rails like My Neighbor Totoro or Spirited Away, where it seems to really jump the shark or really like build its world out and its soft creation building, but soft world building. But it is, I mean, it's a phenomenal movie, and I feel like it is one that will forever be a favorite of mine. The other one I'll mention is Columbus, and that is a movie that I saw on Amazon Prime, and I just looked at the picture, and I was compelled, so I rented it. And ever since I watched that movie, even if I make something spooky or not, Columbus will be paid homage to in something I create. Kogonada is one of those directors that he understands what it means to be soft spoken, humane, and build connection in a way that is subversive. And he's able to make you think it's going one way, but he's not doing it in a flashy way. he's not doing it in a way that's like, ooh, this is entertaining. Where's it going? What's going to happen next? It's more of a soft lull you into a peaceful state. And I believe you're the one who made this review too, which I obviously agree with. But it's one of those movies where it just feels like a hug. It just feels like one of those things where you feel comforted after you watch it. And it might not be everybody's favorite film. Some people are obviously going to find it slow, or some people might find it a little bit too of itself. But I feel like it definitely is one of those for me that has forever changed my perspective on movies. And so we hope that you guys are looking forward to what we discuss. We are going to be doing it's the Halloween season as we record this now. And so our next episode, our very first official discussion, will be a spooky time discussion. It'll be based on 2 films. I use film lightly for one of them, but it'll be based on 2 of those that we discuss and kind of compare and contrast. And so, and we'll also be doing a little bit of a ranking. So please, if you enjoy rankings, please stay tuned. We appreciate you guys. We know that, everybody's kind of vying for your attention. So we appreciate anything you can do to help us out by just listening. That's the number one thing you can do. And so, Nolan, do you have anything else to add to them before we hop off?
Well, except just to say you are not going to want to miss that pilot episode, because this was a discussion that might be one of the most entertaining discussions that we will ever have throughout the course of our podcast. And I'm building it up a lot. I'm building it up a little bit, but let's just say these 2 films, one of these films we could not be further opposites on. And it made for a very fruitful discussion. So we can't wait to hear what y'all think, where y'all side. And yeah, we've got several episodes of hopefully very engaging and fun content coming up down the pipes. We're going to follow some of those normal patterns. We're going to go into some noirs in November. We're going to have some Christmas time themed episodes here coming up in December. But really, we're just 2 guys. We love movies. We love film. And we can't wait to share some of that love and that passion with you all. So we hope you'll engage. We hope you'll come back. We hope you'll listen. And maybe let us know what we're missing. If there's something you're like, hey, you got to check this out. You'll really like this so-and-so. We'd love to hear from you. We are here to hang out. We're here to share a love of movies. And we hope you guys will join us on this journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Another podcast to check out if you like talking or listening to people talk about films is Film Spotting. Josh Larson and Adam Kempenaar, they're based out of Chicago. They're excellent commentators. They are both a little bit more esteemed in that category. They definitely will bring a different sense of fruitful discussion, but they have been someone we've been listening to for a long time. And so just would appreciate you guys giving them some love, hopping on over there to check their stuff out. They just have actually started uploading stuff onto YouTube, video form, video podcast. So definitely give them a watch and a listen, and we'll see you guys next time.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I'm finished.